Exactly. Hello, I'm Christina Jenkins, and this is the audience, and you will see that I'm a little dressed up because we're having a Halloween party. So when you have an audience, you have an audience, right? All right. Michael J. Fox once said that science has proven time and again that when resources are provided, great progress in the treatment, cure, and prevention of disease can occur. I firmly believe this and believe that public education and awareness is the biggest key to preventing any kind of illness and disease. The CDC says that 10 to 20% of the United States population gets the flu every year. 200,000 hospitalizations are caused by the flu, and tens of thousands of deaths are caused every year because of the spread of the influenza virus. Today I want to inform you a little bit about the flu, how to prevent it, and how to prepare for it a little bit. So there are several things that you should know about the flu. It's a highly contagious viral respiratory illness that antibiotics will not work for. The season starts in October and usually ends sometime in April. Children are most susceptible to this disease, and maybe that has something to do with the season and why the season runs that way, because kids in school, they're not that sanitary and they're spreading it around. Symptoms can appear in as early as 1 day to 4 days after exposure to the virus and can last for 7 days. I've made this chart here to show you some of the differences between cold and the flu, because that's kind of important to know in the season. Sore throat, typical of cold and the flu. Runny nose, cold and the flu, usually typical symptoms. Cough, same thing. It could be the cold or the flu. If you have a headache, it could just be a cold still, but it's a typical symptom of the flu. You usually do have a headache. If you have a fever, you usually don't have a fever with the flu, a cold, but you do typically have a fever with the flu. Body aches, rarely with a cold, typically with the flu. Fatigue, just extreme tiredness, not usually with a cold, but typically with the flu. Nausea and vomiting. Usually don't see that with a cold, but sometimes you will see that with the flu. So those are some of the symptoms of cold and flu. And then I want to tell you 10 simple steps to help prepare and prevent the flu. Get your annual flu vaccine. That's important. I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about that and how important that is. Take a good multiple vitamin. Eat well. Exercise. Wash your hands often. Most people contract the flu virus from either shaking hands or touching something that someone else has touched it and contaminated it, and then touching themselves. That's how you get it. Clean and sanitize any hard surfaces in your house or your office, especially if someone's been sick. Change the air filters in your house as appropriate. Make sure that it's catching all the germs and microorganisms that it can. Avoid contact with people who are known to be sick. If you are sick or your child is sick, don't go to work, don't send them to school, because that's how you're spreading it around. And if you do have the flu and you have to go into public, wear a mask and just try to keep from spreading it around. So now that we know some facts about the flu and how to prevent it, I want to talk specifically about the flu vaccination. There's some myths about it and some things that people think about it that really aren't true. Most people want to know how they make the flu vaccination, why it works, where it comes from. So I wanted to tell you that. The vaccine is made from 3 different flu strains, the influenza B, influenza A H1N1, and influenza A H3N2. Now, scientists take those 3 strains, look at them separately, and then pick out the one strain from each virus that they think is going to be the most popular for the season, and they make a vaccination out of it. So no, it's not always 100% correct, but it's what we have, and usually they're pretty spot on with it. So it's worthwhile to get it. After you get the vaccination, it takes about 2 weeks for it to take effect, for your body to build up antibodies and fight off that flu virus if you come in contact with it. The CDC recommends that everyone get vaccinated over 6 months of age, as long as it's advised by your doctor, unless you're allergic to chicken or eggs, or if you've had a serious reaction to the flu vaccine in the past, if you have a fever or a moderate to severe illness right now, or if you have a history of Guillain-Barré syndrome. It's especially important to be vaccinated if you are at high risk for developing complications to the, from getting the flu if you're pregnant, if you're over 65, or if you live or care for someone that is high risk. The CDC recommends that you get your vaccination as soon as it's available. A lot of people think that you shouldn't get it until well into the season because it only lasts for a short amount of time, but the CDC actually states that it's good for a whole year, so you should get it as soon as it's available. I wanted to tell you a little bit about the vaccinations that are available. So again, I have a chart here to help display that. There are several vaccinations available. First of all, there is the flu mist. Now, the flu mist is a live virus. It is weakened, so it's very unlikely that you would contract the flu from getting this vaccination. It's just a nasal spray that's squirted up your nose. 2 to 49 years old and healthy, you can get the flu mist and you don't have to worry about a shot. The regular flu shot is available to everyone except for if you're under 6 months old, because again, it's not recommended. High-dose flu shot is made for people who are 65 or older. It's a little more potent, and it gives you a little extra protection because the 65 and older are higher at risk. And lastly, this year they came out with the intradermal flu shot, and they did that specifically for people who are afraid of needles because it's a tiny little needle. It just breaks the skin, and so if you have a fear of needles, and you are between the ages of 18 to 64, you can get the intradermal flu vaccine and not have to have that fear of getting a big injection. In conclusion, those are the things that I found most important about learning to prevent, the spread of influenza. I hope that everybody learned something today, and maybe whoever hasn't gotten their flu vaccination will think about getting theirs and help stop the spread of the flu. Thank you, guys.